Welcome back. Today in Google Sheets we're going to look at two things. We're going to look at one, how to export data. So how to get this data out of Google Sheets and maybe into another spreadsheet program like Excel. You could also actually just copy and paste it as a table into Word or even Google Docs or all sorts of things. Okay, the other thing we're going to look at is mail merge. Now, the Google applications really don't natively support mail merges. There are some extensions where you can do some things with, but we're going to look, since we're looking at exporting, we're going to look at just bringing them into the Microsoft world and what you can do with them there. Okay, to start with, I've created this student scores tab here in my collection of spreadsheets. And you can see that it's got a series of names on the left, test 1, test 2, some quizzes, homework, and then an average score over here on the right. I have thrown some conditional formatting on there. If a cell is blank, I turn its background red. Okay, maybe these were people who were absent and I have to track down and get this information from them. I've also made the background yellow and bolded the text, if NHI or not handed in, is here. So these are things maybe that students were there and just didn't adequately complete. Since these are quizzes and tests, maybe they just refused to take them, or homework, just didn't hand it in. Okay, and finally I put this formatting, a purple background and little bold letters here, color change on the font, for any score that falls below 75. And you can see there's only one of those. Okay, great. Now, how can I get this information from Sheets to other locations? Well, one simple way would simply be to copy the information that's in the cells, come over to your alternate product, so in this case it's an Excel sheet, and paste it. Note that the formatting came over. Now, Excel, of course, has its own conditional formatting, so let me click on one of these cells and see if it brought over the rule or if it just really brought over the colors. And if I go to conditional formatting in Excel and manage rules, you can see that copying and pasting it doesn't bring all that information about formula. It took the cells that were already colored and just brought that formatting across. So if I were to change in any of this data in Excel, these formats, so if I'll give you an example. If I were to come into this one and say NHI, you'll notice it's not dynamic. It doesn't pick up the characteristics of these other NHI cells because there are no rules in Excel. That didn't happen here. Okay, let's look at another example. If I were to open up Microsoft Word and paste the same thing, you'd find that I could just bring this in. So if I was doing a report, or if for some reason I wanted it in this particular format, I could paste it. And again, this is not attached to anything. If I make edits here, I make this, I just delete that. You know, it doesn't pick up this empty cell formatting. Okay, but it's a quick and easy way to get it in there. Okay, let's take a look. Come back here and we're going to take a look at another environment. So let me, while I'm here, make a new Google Doc. Now if I go to paste this into a Google Doc, you can see the situation's a little different. Now it's asking me whether I would like to just paste it, paste unlinked, or if I would actually like to link that to the spreadsheet. So if I paste that here, okay, let's see, Daisy Snow got a 75 on her first test. If I come back to her records here in the spreadsheet and I say, well, she retook the test and got an 89 this time, and I return to the Google Doc, you're going to see that I now have these options up here. One of them would be to open the source, which is already open actually, change the range, so say that I don't want this set of cells, I want a different set, or unlink it. But the other option is simply to update it. When I click update, it spins for a second and now the 89 appears. So if you're thinking about lesson design, especially with some kind of ongoing project where you're collecting data over time, You could put that into a report. You could put that into a Google Doc. Simply link that information, and then as you get new information, you could update that. Okay, so that's kind of a cool option with Google Docs. And by the way, if you were working in a Microsoft Word environment, Word, Excel, you could do essentially the same thing. You can get those things synced up, so as more information comes in, it brings it into the word processor. Okay, so those are copy and paste options. Another option for getting this data out is simply to say File, Download As, and it's going to let you pick. In most cases, you're just going to pick this one, XLSX. That's the newer version of Microsoft Excel, and by newer, 2013, 2010, I believe, would still be in this format. It's, if you see an XLS, it's a much older version of Excel. But anyway, you can bring it in as an Excel file. This is an open source, so you can get free versions of packages similar to Microsoft Office. So you can get open source packages of Word, of a spreadsheet, a word processor, etc. And this is the format you would use. You can put it out as a PDF, in which case you can't edit it anymore. You could make it as a web page, would be pretty unusual. It's not the best way to do that. A CSV file that we've talked about, so it would simply come down as a simple list of data separated by commas, or a tab separated values. So instead of commas between each value, tab characters are there, and CSVs have become much more popular. In the past, a lot of people use these tab separated values, but depending on what application you may be bringing this data into, these formats may become relevant. So sometimes when you're creating student accounts or something, maybe you have an online program and you have to create 100 students in there. Well, you could type them in, but that seems like a lot of work. So most of those web applications have the opportunity to import that data. To pick a file and have it, the information in the file, and create everything. And you'd have to look at it to see what it needed. Some of them do take Excel files, but some don't. Some you have to bring it in as CSV is most common. As I said, tab separated values are a possibility as well. So basically, right now I'm just going to say, please bring it down as an Excel sheet. And what that's going to do is it's going to give me the opportunity where to save it. I'll just put it in downloads for now, and let's just call it test download. And I say OK. Okay, you can see it's downloaded. And if I go to open that up, it's going to take a second, but when it opens up, you'll see that I get all of the data. I get not only there it is, enable for editing. You can see I just didn't get the single tab, single sheet, but I got my earthquake data, my ice cream flavors. I got everything right across. Okay, so that's a very, very useful way to get the data. Just export it directly. And in the case of a Google Sheet, what you're doing is you're downloading it. I'll close up these Excel versions. Okay. The other thing that I like to do is I like to show you Mail Merge. Okay, so Mail Merge, like I said, is going to work better on this Microsoft Word side. So with Mail Merge, you simply point it at a data source. So let's take a look here. Along the top, you're going to see this option for mailings. It's going to ask you to select the recipients, or that's actually what you'd rather choose, use an existing list. And in this case, let me go get that Excel file I just downloaded, or just created in the download. There it is. And I'll say open. It's going to do a quick analysis of that document, and it's going to see that there are a whole series of different sheets in there. Which one do I want? Well, I want student scores. So I'm going to open that one up. Now it looks like nothing happens, but what actually happens, if you look at insert mail merge field, all the fields become available to you. So I'm going to call this parent report. Do a minimal amount of formatting here. Make that font a little bigger, bolder, centered, etc. Okay, and then I can type some text on here. Student 1, test 1, test 2, and I think I had 4 quizzes. Quiz 1, quiz 2, quiz 3. Taking a little bit of time here. Quiz 4 and average. Okay. What I can do if I come back to mailings, because I'm kind of linked, not kind of, I'm linked up directly with that spreadsheet, I can simply insert my values here. So first name, I'm going to leave a space, so I hit the space bar, and last name. Now let's take a second. These double carets, you're not going to be able to do this by putting 2 greater than signs and then typing first and 2 less than signs. You have to get it through the insert merge field here. You have a preview results option, and you can see, wow, that's showing me Daisy Snow. So it is taking the data out of that spreadsheet. Across the top here, you can see that I'm on record 1, which is in row 2 because we had the titles, first name, last name, etc. But if I just hit this next arrow, you can see that it's going to page through. It's going to allow me to page through all of my students. And if I hit the icon 1 to the right, you can see it'll bring me to the very last one I had in my list. I didn't alphabetize these, so Lottie McGee is just at the end. And if I click this one, it'll bring me back to the very first one. Okay, of course I'm going to have the option to print these as well. Now, let me shut those off for a second. You can format these things in either view, either this preview results view or when I'm seeing the field names themselves. So let's take all of this stuff and say, well, I got plenty of room on this page. It'll make it easier for people to read if it's a little bigger. I'm going to take this label here and take these labels and bold them. I'll do this quick, although I'll have to unbold the next things I type. And these, let's say that I want my data to appear in red. So I'm just going to select those fields and make it red. Now I haven't put all my data in, so let me come back to mailings, and I'm going to say, please put test 1 over here. So it picked up that formatting. I didn't really want that to happen, but I can fix that easily. Quiz 2. Ooh, come on. A bit of lag here. Quiz 3. Quiz 4. Oh, I forgot homework. That's an important one. Put in that homework field, put in the average. Now, I didn't go crazy with that sample document, but I could have looked up, you know, this is going to give a numerical average, right? It's going to tell me you got an 82, and that value was rounded. I did that in a sheet. I could have gone through and put a grade translation using a lookup table. If you're not sure what that is, look back at the video that included all the functions, and you'll see lookup tables. This is where something like that is very valuable. Here, let me just take this data here and use the format painter. This is the same as in, works the same way as it does in Sheets. There you go. Come back to mailings. You can see that, turn on the preview results, and you can see I've got this nice set of information for Daisy Snow. Oop, missed the formatting on one of them. There you go. Okay. I could have gone into my sheet and put comments. In other words, just big text things and brought that in. I also could have created standard comments that went with each overall average. As a matter of fact, I could have created standard comments that went with each test score. And, if you got below a 75, I would say one thing. If you got above a 95, I would say another thing. I could have done all that through lookup tables and then brought all that information and really had kind of a comprehensive report here. We're not going to go crazy on mail merges, but just know that there are a lot of options here. I can come into this, I can always come in and select a list like I did, but I can also edit this recipient list. So I could say this is fine, but this student is missing a score, so I'm just going to not include them in what I print. I can sort them, which is actually kind of important. Notice that I didn't sort the original data, which of course I should have. But when I mail merge them out, I can just, now I'm sorting them by last name. They'll appear the same way on the sheet, but the sheets will simply be ordered first name to last name. So I should have really done that in the Excel sheet or in the Google sheet, but I could do it here as a last minute. I can also apply filters. I can also say, please only show me things where the average is greater than or equal to 94. Maybe I have a special letter I want to link to. Oop, none of those exist. So let's see. Let's get their average above 90. There you go. So these are the high flyers in the class right now. And perhaps I have a separate letter, slightly different letter that has all sorts of praise and accolades, etc. in it. And I can mail merge just this group to that. So just know that you can do that type of thing. This also works with mailing labels, etc. And when I'm ready to go, I can just click this Finish and Merge button. Edit individual documents is what I usually do. And I'm going to tell it to take everything from here. But let's say that I had, I use this for certificates, outputting graduation certificates, etc. Or commendation, in 6th grade they get, high honors for a certain number of marking periods. I would mail merge them all out, but then if I came back later and added people to the list, I could simply say get from row 8 on, or from row 8 to 10 in my sheet, so I don't have to reprint everything or go through any great difficulty there. For right now, I'm just going to say all, okay. It's going to name it letters 1. What you've got to be careful when you do a mail merge is that this is document 1, this is letter 1. This is the template. This is the live thing that I can edit with, and I want to definitely save this and give it a good name. This is just a Word document where all of that information has been exported to, and this is not editable. So it's editable, I'm sorry. But if I go to mailings, it's not dynamic. This is just text on a page, and if I scroll down, you can see my second page is Philip, and my third page is, who is it? Surane, Guy, etc. So it just mail merged out the documents of students who had averages over 90 and created a Word document where each person's information was put on a single page. Can I change this? Can I say, well, I really believe in the end he deserved a 94 for some reason. I can just edit it. It's just a Word document that in no way ties back to the data or even the template. So when you do your final merge at the end, you wind up with a Word document. Make sure and save the template as well as the Word document, because the template you're going to be able to open up and just have new data in that sheet, and it will take care of everything for you. You don't have to set it up twice.